Bill Riggins was a happy man. He had one more week to work, then he would be retired. At supper on Friday night he told Sarah, his wife, that the 45 years had actually went pretty fast. He also told her the meat was a little overdone. He was always complaining about her cooking. She didn't say anything but knew he would soon be talking different. She saw him itch his breast and smiled to herself. After supper he went to sit in his recliner. Sarah knew he would be taking his usual 1-hour nap. As she did dishes she thought about the hormones she had been feeding him for the past 5 months. The other night she noticed his areolas had grown bigger and his breasts were budding. She smiled to herself that after all these years she would finally take control. When she finished dishes she went and got the surprise for Bill. She gently lifted his head and slid the black bag over his head. She closed the clamp at the top of the bag and secured it with the padlock that had come with it. She sat and watched the news as she also watched for him to wake up. She saw him wake up. He reached for the bag on his head. She saw him feel the padlock and shake his head. "You aren't going to get it off by yourself. It is locked on and stays locked on until you agree to some changes around here. When you agree to the changes it will come off. Until then you are wearing it. Do you understand?" She heard a muffled what sounded like a yes. She didn't hear any more, so she sat quietly watching the television. She saw her husband get up and knew he was headed for the bathroom. He walked directly into the wall and fell down. She got up and went and took his arm and guided him to the bathroom. As he sat on the toilet she said, "If you stick your tongue out you'll feel a small hole. I will feed you through a straw until you agree to my terms. I have a long time that I can wait. I don't think you will be able to go to work wearing the bag, so you have until Sunday night to decide if you want to live by my terms." She figured she would wait until he asked before she told him her terms. She knew he wouldn't give in easily, but she knew he would give in. Bill sat on the toilet wondering what was going on. He wondered what Sarah was talking about when she said changes were going to be made. He went to work and put food on the table. What more could she want? He had no clue as to what she was talking about. She helped him find his way back to his recliner. He sat there and could hear the television but couldn't see it. He didn't say anything. He sat thinking of how he was going to get this damn bag off his head. He thought when it was off his head he was going to raise the roof, that was for sure. At bedtime Sarah led him to the bedroom. She told him he could get undressed. He got his shirt and pants off along with his shoes and socks. He heard Sarah tell him to get his underwear off and she would help him into his bedclothes. He got his underwear off and she told him to lift first his right foot and then his left foot. He felt her pull something that felt different up his legs. He could feel an uneven edge on whatever she had pulled up his legs. He felt with his hand and it felt like whatever it was made of nylon. Then his fingers felt the lace. He knew he had women's panties on. She told him to hold his arms out. He did, and she slid something up them and pulled it over his head. When it dropped he knew he was wearing a nightgown. "I hope you sleep well in your new nightwear. You will be wearing this kind of clothing every night from now on. Sleep tight and I'll see you in the morning." He laid down in the bed and was soon asleep. He awoke the next morning and wondered why he couldn't see. Then he remembered the night before and wondered if she was going to take the bag off this morning. He got up and sat on the edge of the bed. He thought he could find the bathroom even if he couldn't see. He started to head for the bathroom. He stubbed his toe when he went to leave the bedroom. He finally made it into the bathroom and by feel found the toilet. "I see you found the toilet all right. I'll help you get to the dining table for breakfast. You'll have to wait while I fix it. You know how bad a cook I am. I sure hope I can make something you can draw up a straw or you are going to get really hungry." She led him to a dining room chair and when he was sitting started to make him some breakfast. She gave him a glass with orange juice in it plus his daily hormones added. She smiled as he drank it through the straw. Then he fed him some watery cooked cereal. He had to draw a lot harder to get it up the straw. When he finished she asked him if he wanted to get dressed. He didn't answer her, so she left him sitting there. He sat there occasionally hearing noise but not knowing what it was. He was getting impatient and wanted to do something, but not being able to see made it impossible to do anything. After what seemed like an eternity, Sarah handed him a glass she said was lunch. He eagerly drank it, again through a straw. She gave him another large glass and that he thought was water, and he drank that all down too. He soon had to go to the bathroom. He called Sarah to help him. When he was done, she led him back to his chair. He was going crazy just sitting there. Finally, he decided to ask what she had in mind. "Well, all the years we have been married you always found fault with anything I've done. I haven't made a meal that you haven't found something to complain about. You say something every time you see something wrong, like a little smudge on a window or some dust on something. Well, I have decided that you can take care of things from now on. You can do all of the housework, cooking and laundry. You also can do all of the grocery shopping, as you always complain about how much I am spending on groceries. You will be dressed for the work you will be doing. Are you ready to get started?" He was going to tell her to forget it, but decided that anything would be worth getting the bag off of his head. Then he could do something about her attitude. He agreed to let her take the bag off his head. She told him she would first help him get dressed. She led him to the bedroom. She helped him get his nightgown off. Then he felt her do something and felt a weight on his chest. Somehow he knew she had attached breast forms to his chest. Then she had him stand and lift his feet one at a time. He felt her pulling something tight up his body. He started to have trouble getting his breath as she tightened the laces on the corset. Finally she was done tightening them, and he knew he could never get it off by himself. Then she slid a bra up his arms and fastened it in back. He felt her do something but didn't know what she had done. He asked her what she was doing. "I just locked your corset on. That way I know you won't be tempted to try to get it off. I am going to take the bag off now, and you better cooperate or else you will find yourself in more trouble than you ever thought possible. Are you going to promise to cooperate? If you don't, the bag goes back on, and I don't think it will come off quick." He promised, and she took the bag off his head. It took him a few minutes for his eyes to adjust to the sudden bright light. When he had adjusted his sight to the light, she handed him a pair of nylons, telling him he had seen her put them on often enough so he should be able to do as himself. He got them up his legs but had trouble figuring out how to fasten the garters from the corset. Sarah helped him and showed him how to do it. She handed him a slip, which he got on okay. Then she handed him a very feminine dress to put on. It had ruffles in front of the top half and a ruffle around the skirt about 6 inches up from the hem. He got it on, and she had to button up the back for him. She handed him a pair of white pumps with a 3-inch heel, telling him he shouldn't have any problem with them, as they were only a little higher than his cowboy boots. He managed to walk without a lot of difficulty. She told him he should put his ponytail up higher on his head, as it was too low to look feminine. She saw he had tears in his eyes when he adjusted the ponytail. She told him that as long as he was sitting at her vanity, he should put some lipstick on. He grabbed a tube and was surprised that it was the reddest one he remembered she had. She told him that now it was time to get to work. She told him he could start by dusting and polishing the furniture in the living room. Then she said he could do the floor. He went and started. As he was doing it, he was surprised at how much work it was. By the time he was done with the floor, he wanted to take a break, but she told him he could now clean the oven and stove. When he finished that, she told him it was time to make supper. He asked what he should make, and she told him it was up to him. He finally settled on a couple of steaks. They were eating supper, and Sarah told him her steak was too done. He said he had done his best, and she told him she always did her best, but that never stopped him from finding fault with her cooking. After they were done eating, she had him do the dishes. When he finished the dishes, he went in by her and asked, "How long do you intend on keeping me this way?" "As long as I want to. Right now I think you could be that way for a long, long time. In all the years we have been married, you never said I did anything right. Now you can show me how well you can do everything. When and if the time comes I feel you have shown me everything and how to do it right, I may go back to being the housewife around here. In the meantime you can be the housewife and do the showing. Doesn't that sound like fun?" "No, it doesn't. I want you to think about what you are doing. I am your husband and I think I deserve more respect than this. I am glad you said that. When it comes to respect, did you ever show me respect for what I did around here? No, you didn't. You don't think a husband has to respect his wife, but his wife should respect her husband. Well, I am telling you it is a two-way street. He was aghast that she was talking to him this way. He was uncomfortable in the corset but decided he could tough it out until she came to her senses. And he felt silly sitting there in a dress, but there was little he could do about it. At bedtime he cursed how the corset didn't allow his body to bend like it should. Sarah handed him a very feminine nightgown to wear. He got it on, and when he was lying in bed he wondered what tomorrow would bring. He had a feeling that she was not going to let him out of dresses soon. He wondered if she was thinking of sending him to work in a dress. He hoped she wasn't, but he wouldn't put it past her the way she'd talked tonight. The next morning Sarah woke him up and told him it was time for him to make breakfast. He went to the kitchen and made pancakes for breakfast. Sarah found fault with them and he was just about ready to cry as she picked apart his cooking. Didn't she realize he had never cooked much before and that he was just learning? Sarah told him she thought his pink dress with the black heels would look good for today. He went to the closet and found the pink lace-trimmed dress and put it on. When he got the black heels out he saw they had 5-inch heels. When he asked about them Sarah said he always liked her in the higher heels, so now he could feel the same as she did when she wore higher heels. He had a lot of trouble walking in them. Sarah suggested he do the laundry unless he was thinking about doing it after work. She told him to hang it outside to get the fresh air smell. He started it and she told him the lawn had to be cut. He was glad to sit on the riding lawnmower. He was also glad they lived at the end of a dead-end road in the country. He did the front lawn, then went and got the first load of laundry out and put the second load in. While he was hanging up the first load he was cursing because his heels kept sinking into the ground. He was extremely glad to get back on the lawnmower to do the backyard. He finished the mowing and trimming in the yard and got the second load hung up. When he got back in the house, Sarah said she was hungry. He made some soup and sandwich for lunch. Sarah told him he'd put too much butter on her sandwich. He thought there was no way he could win. While he was doing the dishes he heard her talking on the telephone. He couldn't make out what she was saying, but he hoped she wasn't telling anyone about what she had him wearing. When he finished Sarah told him he was the expert, he should find something to do. He couldn't think of anything, then decided to go make up the bed. He started out of the bedroom when he heard Sarah talking to someone. He recognized Jane Simmons' voice, then he heard Jim Simmons' voice. They were their best friends. He couldn't let them see him like this. He turned around and went back and sat on the bed. He heard Sarah call him. He didn't move. He heard her call again that if he didn't come she would come and get him. He knew if she came Jane and Jim would be with her. He slowly got up and went to the living room. When he slowly walked in, Jane said, "Sarah said she changed your style, but I never thought it would be like that." "Welcome to the world of the housewife," Jim said. "That is a pretty dress. Did you pick it out all by yourself?" They were all laughing except Bill. He wanted to sink through the floor. He wondered how Sarah could subject him to this humiliation. Jim asked him if he wanted to go outside to talk so the women could talk, or did he want to join in their women's chat. Bill said he would like to go out and talk. "Outside," Jim said. "Sarah told us she had enough of your constant finding blame with everything she did. She said she took control of you and she was going to see you got a taste of your own medicine." "I know, and she is doing a good job of it. I never thought she would do something like this to me. I hate to say this, but you asked for it. I am going to tell you as a friend that you did constantly pick on her. Jane and I talked about it more than once. We got the feeling you didn't appreciate anything she did. She is a very nice person, but you never told her that, did you? You took her for granted and kept cutting her down. Now she has the upper hand and she is going to see that you see what she has had to put up with." Bill could see what he was saying. He wished he could change things, but he didn't know how he could convince her that he was a changed man. He was sorry for having given her so much grief. He had never thought about how he had treated her until now. He knew Jim was talking to him as a friend, and that he was telling the truth. The men went back in the house and Sarah told him that Jane and Jim were staying for supper. Bill worried about what to make. He decided to make chicken on the grill. He peeled potatoes and got the whole kernel corn ready to heat, then started the grill. He was happy as he swabbed the barbecue sauce on the chicken quarters. He got the table set and soon the meal was ready. They were eating, and Jim said the chicken was delicious. Bill thanked him. Then Sarah said the potatoes were overcooked. He knew she was right. He had intended to mash them and now he wished he had. Jane told him he could cook for her anytime, and he smiled at her. After supper Jim visited with him as he did the dishes. Jim told him he would support him no matter what. Jim asked what it felt like to wear a dress. Bill said it wasn't bad in a way, but it was humiliating for a man to be made to wear a dress. Jim told him he hoped Bill would do his best to please Sarah, that then maybe she would relent and let him wear men's clothes again. Bill felt good about what Jim was saying. It meant a lot to him to have at least one person supporting him. Jim and Jane left and Bill talked to Sarah. He said, "Jim and I had a very interesting talk outside today. I honestly never thought about all that I was saying to you. I'm sorry I hurt you. It is inexcusable on my part for what I did. I just want you to know I am going to try to change. You are going to change all right. You are going to experience all that I have put up with for the last 37 years. The first 2 years we were married you were kind and considerate, then you changed into someone I didn't know or want to know. It is partly my fault because I never did anything about it until now. But you have snapped my buttons for the last time. I am sorry that this is the only way I can see to get you to change. Maybe if you really try to get into it I'll relent, but I am not promising anything right now." She helped him out of his clothes and put the bag on his head so he could take a shower. He felt good in the shower because the corset was off. After the shower Sarah relaced the corset to what felt tighter than before. She removed the bag from his head. He was relieved to get the bag off his head. He didn't like feeling totally dependent on Sarah for everything. When they went to bed he grabbed a different nightgown and put it on. He got in bed and kissed Sarah goodnight. She was surprised as he seldom kissed her goodnight. She wondered what was going through his mind. He lay there and wondered what she was going to have him wear for work tomorrow. The next morning she told him he could wear his men's shirt and pants but the rest was to be women's clothes. He got dressed and when he walked into the dining area Sarah laughed. She pointed out that his nipples were showing, poking his shirt out. She told him a bra would probably eliminate that. He went back to the bedroom and when he looked in the mirror he saw she was right, and saw that when he had a bra on the nipples no longer showed. He felt better then. After he left for work Sarah relaxed and wondered what next to do. She decided to go visit Verna Smith, who she hadn't had a good gabfest with for a long time. Bill arrived at work and immediately noticed he couldn't make the moves he usually did because of the tight corset. He managed to do his job and no one seemed to notice anything different about him. By the end of the day he was aching in places he didn't know he had but was happy the day was over. On the way out the door, Tom, his helper, yelled to him only 4 more days. He smiled and waved to him. When he got home the first thing he did was grab a beer out of the refrigerator. Sarah told him before he drank his beer he should go get dressed. She said she laid a dress on the bed for him to wear. He set his beer down on the counter and went to change. When he got into the bedroom he saw the white slip and dress lying on the bed. He got them on and put the white heels that were lying on the floor on. He was thankful they were lower heels than the black ones he had to wear yesterday. He looked in the mirror and saw that the top of the dress was elastic and fit tightly on his chest. Yellow wasn't one of his favorite colors, but this dress certainly made him look different. It was a sundress with ruffled straps going up over his shoulders. He went and grabbed his beer but Sarah told him he forgot to put his lipstick on. She told him to always wear lipstick when he was wearing a dress. He did as she said, and started supper without her telling him. As they were eating supper Sarah told him that the carrots could have been cooked a little longer. He knew she was right, but was irritated. Why did she have to say anything about them? Then he remembered that if the situation were changed and she'd cooked he would have said something about them. She told him he probably could clean the 2 spare bedrooms after he did the dishes. He was cleaning the first bedroom when Sarah brought him a glass of beer. He eagerly drank it down, not realizing there were female hormones in it. He was amazed at how long it took to clean the bedroom properly, and when he started on the second one he was already feeling tired. Then he remembered he hadn't had his after-supper nap. By the time he finished the second bedroom he was tired enough to go to bed, so he said goodnight to Sarah and did just that. She was surprised, as it was a half-hour earlier than his regular bedtime. She smiled to herself as she thought that maybe he was finding out that a woman's work is actually work. She felt good every time she thought about how he was doing something the wife normally does. She knew she'd done the right thing in putting him in a dress. The next morning before he got dressed, Sarah tightened his corset laces. He thought he couldn't breathe, they were so tight, but soon he got used to taking shallower breaths and could handle it. As he was hooking his bra he wondered how long Sarah intended on keeping this up. He didn't know if he could take much more of it. The next 3 days went pretty well for him. Finally Friday came and it was his last day of work. He had told Sarah he would be home by noon as he was free to leave after the reception, honoring his years of service and celebrating his retirement. At the reception, Margot asked him if he was losing weight, having noticed his belt was in 3 more notches. He told her no, he was just redistributing it. They both laughed at that. He left work for the last time a happy man. When he got home at noon he was surprised to see that Sarah had fixed lunch for them. He ate his lunch and drank his hormone-laced milk. As they ate, Sarah told him that by the time he finished dishes they would have to leave. He asked where they were going and she said it would be a surprise for him. He wondered what she had in mind but didn't think it was anything special or she would have said something different. When he finished the dishes Sarah told him to go put on the dress she had laid out on the bed. He went in and saw a black dress with white daisies printed on it. It had a full skirt and he saw she had put the black heels out. He thought about switching to the lower-heeled white ones, then decided he didn't want to anger Sarah and spend more time in the bag. He applied lipstick and went to see where they were going. Sarah drove until 2 miles away. She pulled into the country hair salon. They went in, and she greeted Jessica, the owner. Jessica told them she was all ready for them. First she had Sarah sit in the chair, and she did her hair. Then Bill was told to sit in the chair. Jessica put a flowered shawl around his neck, then had him go to the sink so she could shampoo his hair. He liked how she massaged the shampoo in. Then it was back to the chair. Jessica told Sarah it would take about 3 hours to do all that Sarah had asked for. Sarah left and Bill wondered what was going to be done. He was surprised when Jessica fastened some straps around his wrists. When he asked about them, she told him she didn't want him going anywhere. Jessica started by trimming his hair, then putting a lot of rollers of different sizes in it. She put some foul-smelling lotion on each of the rollers and covered his hair with a brightly colored plastic cap. Then she told him he would feel a sting. It stung all right as she narrowed and softened his eyebrows. He was glad when she'd finished. She then did something he never thought anyone would do to him. She shaved his face, telling him she had to get it as clear of stubble as possible. He was amazed at how gentle she was as she shaved him. Then she showed him how to apply foundation. She used 2 different shades to heighten his cheekbones, then showed him how to apply blush and not overdo it. He'd never thought of applying makeup as an art, but she assured him it was. She showed him a trick to applying eyeliner, and how to properly apply eyeshadow and mascara, and he noted how she did it. It seemed she was showing him a lot to remember, but he took it all in. When she showed him how to use a lip liner pencil he was amazed that even with a little thing like that there were tricks to learn. Then she colored his lips with a bright red lipstick, brighter than anything he had seen before. She then attached false nails to his fingers and painted them a bright red to match his lipstick. He stared at the nails as they dried. He was transfixed at how shiny they were. Jessica told him that his nails and his makeup would make it less likely that anyone would recognize him as a man. She told him that if he kept wearing the makeup he would be accepted as a woman, not a man in a dress. Jessica took the plastic cap off and started on his hair. He kind of liked the feeling of her brushing his hair and told her so. She told him she liked doing hair, as everyone was different and wanted different styles. She asked him if he'd picked a feminine name yet. He told her he hadn't, and that he'd never thought about it. She asked him who was the prettiest woman or girl he had ever seen. He thought for over 5 minutes, then said that he thought the prettiest girl he'd seen had to be Angela Simon on their graduation night. He told Jessica he'd never forget how pretty she was that night. He told her that Angela always scared him, that he was afraid to talk to her when they were in school. Jessica said, "Then it's settled. We'll call you Angela. That is a pretty feminine name." He didn't know about being called Angela. He didn't care to be called that name, but he didn't say anything to Jessica about it. Sarah meanwhile came in, and Jessica told her it was taking a while longer than expected, as she'd had to shave him. She told Sarah how they'd picked a new name for him. When she told her the name was Angela, Sarah told her that was a perfect name for him. Jessica finished, and when he was turned toward the mirror he saw he had a head full of curls. He'd always had long hair, and now the curls came down past his shoulders. He was fascinated by the bangs on his forehead. Jessica told him there was only one more thing to do, and that he would feel a quick sting. She then pierced both of his ears in 2 places and put shiny studs in the holes. He couldn't believe it was him staring back at him in the mirror. That then left, and Sarah turned the opposite direction from going home. He asked her where they were going now. Sarah told him she was taking him into town. He didn't want to go into town but didn't have a choice. She parked outside a tattoo parlor. She told him he was always saying how he would like to get a tattoo, so now he was going to get one. They went in and she picked a rosebud ring for his ankle. He was shocked that she was ordering such a tattoo for him. As the tattoo artist was doing his ankle, she asked about the daisy ring tattoo. She told the artist to do a daisy chain around his right wrist. Then she told the tattoo artist maybe a little butterfly on his left wrist would look good too. He was afraid to say anything because he thought it would just bring her more ideas. He looked at the pictures of possible tattoos and saw the eagle he wished he were getting. When he looked at Sarah, she had a look he had never noticed before. She had a sparkle in her eye, and with the smile on her face he knew she was happy. He wondered why. She was thinking that now there was no way he wouldn't be showing that he was feminine. He didn't know he was going to be Angela for a long, long time. She decided that she should push a little more. The tattoo artist finished his work and explained how to care for the tattoo. They then left the parlor and she drove, but again it was away from the way home. "Angela, I have good news for you," she said. "You don't have to cook supper tonight or do dishes. You are going to get to show off how pretty you are. We are going to eat out. We'll get a fish dinner at Taylor's bar." He didn't want to go to Taylor's, as that was where he usually went before. She parked the car and handed him a purse, telling him his new wallet was in it. When they walked in, Judy Taylor greeted them saying, "Hello, Sarah. This must be Angela." "Hello, Angela." Sarah asked how she knew it was Angela. Judy said, "I think everyone in town knew 5 minutes after he left Jessica's." Jessica told Henrietta Strong about how he had his looks changed, and you know Henrietta, she can get a story out faster than the news services. They ordered, and when Judy brought their food she told Angela how sweet he looked. He blushed deeper than the blush on his face but thanked her for the compliment. Sarah had to remind him that women took small bites of their food. It seemed to him he could do nothing right. They finished eating and headed home, where Sarah got him a hormone-laced glass of beer. Then they were sitting and watching television, though he wasn't concentrating on the program. Instead, he was wondering what else Sarah could do to him. During a commercial, Sarah asked, "Well, tell me how you like being more feminine?" "It's nothing like I've ever experienced before. I kind of enjoyed the beauty parlor, except the eyebrow tweezing. And I was surprised how Judy Taylor treated me. I expected her to tease me or taunt me some. I'll tell you the truth, and that is, there is a different feeling wearing a dress. I can't describe it, but sometimes I like the feel of it. Other times I hate that I am wearing a dress. What I would like to know is how long you intend on keeping me in dresses. I really don't know. You spent years complaining about everything I did, so you are going to have to wait until I forget all those remarks you made to me. I would hope to forget them soon, but I don't think it's going to happen. Besides, I think you look cute in your dresses and heels." She saw him blush and knew he was worried about how long he was going to be wearing dresses, not about all he was going to have to do. Would you like to take a bath? It will give you a chance to relax." He agreed and she went with him into the bedroom, and he was surprised when the first thing she did was put the bag on his head and lock it. Then she helped him get undressed. He felt a lot better when the corset was off. She then led him into the bathroom and started the water in the tub, but she set it for just a trickle. She told him she was going to put some lotion on him before his bath. She spread lotion all over his body. She told him she was adding bubble bath to his bath. He had never taken a bubble bath before, as only women took bubble baths. His skin was tingling when she finally let him into the tub. The warm water felt delightful and soon he was relaxing in the nice warm water. He gently washed his whole body except for his head. When he was done washing, he sat back and could easily have fallen asleep. He didn't know how much later it was, but Sarah came and told him it was time to get out. He hated to leave the bath, it had felt so good. She helped him dry off, then rubbed some more lotion on him. Even through the bag he could smell the flowery scent. Then she took him into the bedroom and put his corset back on. He never thought she was that strong, as he could hardly breathe when she got done lacing it up. She removed the bag and let him put his panties on. It was difficult, as the corset held his body straight. He put a very feminine nightgown on and Sarah told him he looked delicious in it. He blushed when she said that. He was sleepy, so he crawled into bed. Sarah said "Good night, Angela" to him, and soon he was sleeping. The next morning he woke up and got dressed in the bright yellow sundress. When he looked in the mirror he thought he looked not bad in the dress, but he thought he was still a man and shouldn't be wearing dresses. He went and made some coffee, and as he was sitting and enjoying it he noticed that all the hair was gone from his arms. He knew now what the stinging sensation had been before he got into the tub. He wished Sarah would get over her hurt feelings. He knew he loved her and that he didn't really mean to be mean to her. Why couldn't she just see that he loved her and let it go at that? Sarah came in and poured herself a cup of coffee. She sat down and looked at him. He saw her smile turn to a frown. When he asked what was the matter, she said, "You haven't done your makeup yet. You should do it first thing every morning. I always at least wore lipstick for you every morning. If I have to look at you without makeup, you might as well wear the bag. Then I won't have to look at your face." He couldn't believe what she was saying. Why did she always find fault with everything he did? Why was she always in a bad mood? He went and started to put his makeup on. As he was doing it he tried to remember the tips Jessica had told him. It took him some time, but he finally thought it looked pretty good. When he went back out, Sarah told him he'd used too much blush. He couldn't win no matter what. There was a honk in the driveway and Sarah said that had to be Earl Thompson. She said Earl had called after he was in bed to see if he wanted to go fishing his first day of retirement. She'd told Earl he would. "Go on, Angela, grab your fish poles and go enjoy yourself. Your housework can wait." He didn't want to go out, but he knew he had to. He didn't want Earl to see him like this. He told Sarah he couldn't get into a boat in high heels. She told him to go put on his brown loafers. When he came out wearing them, she put a shiny penny in the opening over the instep and told him they looked more feminine. He knew he had to go out there. When he got out there, Earl said, "I heard Sarah had you in dresses." In a way it didn't surprise me. "Are you ready to do some serious fishing?" "Yes, I guess I am. Maybe that's what I need right now. I'll get my poles." They were fishing for about a half hour and neither one had said much. Finally Earl broke the silence saying, "How did Sarah get you in dresses?" He explained about the bag over his head and how he felt when it was on. He said finally he couldn't take it any longer and told her she could do what she wanted with him. Earl asked, "Didn't she say why she was doing it?" "Yes, she did. She said I have always found too much fault with whatever she did. I never thought about that and I never expected her to do something like this to me. Well, we have been friends since childhood and I will tell you something. You did treat her rather nasty a lot. I was going to say something to you about that before, but I figured I would keep my nose out of it. Now I wish you had said something about it. Maybe I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. I just hope she gets over it soon. Don't count on it. I know a woman who was in second grade with Sarah and they got into an argument and the girl slapped Sarah's face. Sarah hasn't talked to her since. The woman says hi to her when she sees her but Sarah just walks on by without acknowledging her. I know because that woman is my sister-in-law. She wants to be friends with Sarah but Sarah isn't going to have any of that. I never knew that. I never knew Sarah could hold a grudge that long. She has never said anything to me about your sister-in-law. Well, what I am saying is don't think she is going to change her mind real fast. I like Sarah but I know she is stubborn and holds grudges for a long time. I wish I could change things but I have no idea what to do. I'm sure if I could do things over I would do things differently. I love Sarah but this is not how I thought my retirement would be. Well, it could be worse. She could give up on you and divorce you. The fact that she isn't I think shows she still has feelings for you. My advice is to try to see the good side of it. I know that isn't easy but that is what you are going to have to do. When she says you did something wrong, agree with her. You're right, but it isn't going to be easy. She's finding something wrong with whatever I do. I don't do anything right for her. Sounds like the tables have turned on you. Like I said, you have probably hit nerves on her that are going to take a while to heal. You're right. I know that. Thank you for understanding. Hey, we've been friends for too long. I don't care what you wear, you're still my friend and I'll try to help any way I can. They fished for a couple more hours and when they were done Earl took him home. At home he told Earl to keep all the fish they'd caught, saying they'd make a good meal for Earl and his wife. Earl laughed and said it was just because he just didn't want to clean them. Then they both laughed. He went in and Sarah told him the bed wasn't made yet. He went and made it, and decided to clean the room. He polished all the wood with furniture polish and did the floor. When Sarah looked at it she said he could have washed the windows. He agreed with her. She looked at him with a funny look on her face. That night at supper Sarah told him the corn could have been warmer. He agreed that it cooled down pretty fast. She had never heard him agree with her so readily. That night at bedtime he complained that his bra was too tight. Sarah had him stripped to his waist and took the breast forms off. She saw he had his own breasts, small but his own. She said they might be B-cups. He looked and asked how that could be. It could be from the hormones I have been feeding you for the last 6 months. You always said I never plan ahead. Now you know I can plan ahead. I have been planning what I did to you for almost a year. You were so busy complaining about everything I did that you never saw it coming. You're right. I never saw anything coming. I guess you showed me you can plan ahead and do whatever you want. He put a nightgown on and kissed her good night, saying, "Despite everything I still love you. Good night." She didn't know what to say to him. He was surprising her all the time. She expected him to rebel more and she just couldn't place how he was acting. She never thought he would react like that. The next morning he made oatmeal for both of them and she didn't find anything wrong with it. He felt pretty good about that. She didn't say anything about his makeup either, or anything negative. Maybe she was changing. He told her he was going to wash all the windows but it was dangerous to climb a ladder in heels. She let him put on his penny loafers to do the outside windows. When he was done they were so clean it seemed as if there were no glass there. Sarah told him he'd done a good job on the windows. She said they could go to Taylor's for their Sunday roast chicken with dressing special. She told him to get his heels on so they could go. They arrived at Taylor's and he asked if they could have a corner table. Judy Taylor escorted them to a corner table, and they ordered the roast chicken with dressing. While they were waiting for their food Sarah had to visit the ladies' room. Judy Taylor came over by him and told him she was sorry Sarah had him in dresses. She said she knew Sarah could be stubborn sometimes. She wished him good luck and hoped he could return to normal soon. Their food arrived and while they were eating Angela said, "You know, I have been doing a lot of thinking. I guess I can see why you put me in dresses. I love you but I know it is in a different way than you love me. I heard a story yesterday. It's about a little girl in 2nd grade. She gets into an argument with another girl. The girl slaps her. She stops recognizing that the girl exists. She ignores the girl when the girl speaks to her. She grows up and still doesn't talk to the girl. She gets old enough to realize a young girl in second grade isn't old enough to know what she's doing, but she still doesn't talk to the girl. You know that woman never grew up in some ways from the second grade. She has held a grudge for over 50 years. I feel sorry for that woman because she has had to carry all that weight for all those years. Sarah knew exactly what he was talking about and she couldn't look him in the eye. She got tears in her eyes and had to wipe them with her napkin. She knew he was right. She wanted to tell him she never realized she had carried that grudge that long. Angela saw her sorrow and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I just wanted to tell you a story. I guess I should have kept my mouth shut." "No, you told a good story. It made me think. You're right, that woman never grew up. Maybe she has to make some changes in her life." He felt better, hearing her say that. He felt he had a chance to get out of dresses possibly soon. All he had to do is wait for the right time. He hoped it would come soon. He had thought his retirement would be completely different from this, that was for sure. He was surprised that she was quiet all the way home, and once home she said she was going to take a nap. This was very unusual for her, as she never napped in the afternoon. He sat and watched a game on television. That night she was exceptionally quiet. He knew that wasn't like her. Something must be bothering her. He kissed her good night and slept fine. The next morning she was still quiet until late morning, when she told him she was going into town and would probably eat lunch there. She left and he made himself a sandwich for lunch. Sarah headed into town and parked in front of the drugstore. She went in and was looking at perfume when Stella Newsom asked if she could help her. She said she was looking for a floral-scented perfume. Stella told her they had 3 different ones she might be interested in. She sprayed some of each on Sarah's arm. Sarah picked the second one to buy. Then Sarah said, "I am sorry how I treated you all these years. I never thought about it until yesterday. It was childish of me to hold a grudge that long. I am glad you're over it. It has bothered me for years. I don't even remember what we were arguing about, but your ignoring me all these years has really bothered me. I tried to think of what I could do, but you were not talking to me, so I couldn't think of anything. It's my lunchtime. Would you like to join me for lunch? Maybe we can make up for some lost time?" "Yes, I'd be glad to. We have too many years to catch up on right away, but I'm sure we can get a good start." They went for lunch to the local diner, which featured a special plate lunch. They were talking when Stella said, "I heard about what you did to Bill. He comes into the drugstore, and I've waited on him many times. I always thought he was a very nice person. Do you care to tell me what happened?" "Well, he always found fault with everything I did, so I thought it was time for him to show me how to do things right. I needed some way to control him, and that was the only way I could think of. I guess you really are controlling him that way. Did you ever say anything to him about how he treated you before you did that?" "No. I figured it wouldn't do any good. I am surprised he hasn't rebelled over it. He hasn't even asked about getting back into men's clothes. I know he loves you. He has bought many gifts that I assume were for you. Have you ever thought about the good qualities he has? Like, he has never impressed me that he was ever unfaithful to you. And has he ever denied you anything you wanted really bad?" Sarah said she hadn't thought about that type of things. Then the subject changed to mutual acquaintances and the latest gossip. The time went fast and they had to part. On the way home, Sarah did some deep thinking. When she got home, Angela was cleaning the refrigerator. She waited until Angela was done, then asked him to sit down so she could talk to him. "I got you a gift, because of how you are doing, handling all of the changes I've made. I just want you to know I appreciate how you've accepted the changes." She handed him a box, and when he opened it he saw the perfume in it. His first thought was to scream that he didn't want it, then he decided that he didn't want to anger her, so he said a quiet thank you. She got up and went to the cupboard and returned, handing him a bottle of pills. "These are the hormones I have been feeding you for probably close to the last 7 months. You can have them. If you stop taking them, I think you will stay the way you are, maybe go back a bit. If you continue to take them, I think you'll soon be in a C-cup bra. I'll leave it up to you. He took the bottle, and really didn't know what he would do with them. He sat in silence, wondering what she was thinking of now. He was afraid to ask. She seemed to be changing her mind about him, but she wasn't really making a move to let him change back. He wondered what had happened to get her this far. That night at supper she said, "I think I can continue the story you told me yesterday about the woman who didn't talk to the girl who slapped her in 2nd grade. Go ahead. I like stories. I would be interested in hearing how it continues." Well, it seems this woman did a lot of thinking about how she was carrying this grudge. It bothered her, as she had not thought about it for a long, long time. She decided maybe it was time to get rid of the grudge. She was afraid of how the girl would react. But she decided to go see the girl. She went to where the girl worked, and guess what? She talked to the girl. They ended up going for lunch and talking about old times. They became friends again. The girl told the woman she was bothered by all the years of being ignored by the woman and was glad they were over. "I am glad to hear that it has a happy ending. It tells me that the woman can still grow into a mature person. Hopefully that woman can keep growing more and more mature. I think she can. It might not be fast, but I think she will make the right decisions. She needs a lot of time to think about things sometimes." He was happy to hear this, as he knew she was talking about what she had done to him. He hoped she would change her mind quickly, but he also knew she didn't hurry any big decisions. The next morning when he got up, he was sick to his stomach. Sarah heard him in the bathroom being sick. He was never sick that she could remember. So she went to the bathroom and told him he should see a doctor. He told her it was probably just something he ate, but she didn't buy that. He was experiencing severe cramps, and nothing he did made them any better. She convinced him to see the doctor. An hour later he was in the doctor's office, and the nurse was taking his temperature and blood pressure. It had been over 20 years since he had been to a doctor's office. The nurse told him he had a temperature and that the doctor would soon be in. She told him to take his pretty dress off and put a gown on. Before they left, Sarah had told him he could wear a shirt and slacks, but he put a dress on anyway. She was surprised that he would wear a dress to the doctor's office. The doctor came in, and when he saw the corset under the gown, he asked about it. Bill explained it to him. "You are as much responsible for this as my wife. She fed me female hormones, and I don't think she got them at the feed store. I don't know why you gave her the hormones, but I'm sure you had a good reason. I just can't think of one right now." The doctor was shocked on hearing this. He told him he never thought Sarah would be feeding them to him. He told him he had to have a talk with Sarah. Bill asked him what the lasting effects would be if he continued taking them. The doctor explained what would happen. Then Bill got a severe cramp and started to vomit. The doctor undid his corset and helped him out of it. While Bill was on the examining table and the doctor was checking him, he had several more hard cramps, and the doctor finally told him he had some good news and some bad news. The good news was that his pain would be gone by this afternoon. The bad news was that he was going to lose his appendix. The doctor asked him if while he was under, did he want the doctor to remove his breasts or do a breast reduction surgery. Bill said to ask Sarah, as he and Sarah were responsible for them being there. The doctor asked him if he was allergic to anything, and he said yes, he was allergic to pain. The doctor called his nurse in and had her start in 4. They got an ambulance to take him to the hospital, and the doctor went to talk to Sarah. He told her she had gotten a prescription under false pretenses, and that was breaking the law. They had a long talk, and the doctor was very stern with her. Bill arrived at the hospital drifting in and out of sleep from the 4. He was prepped for surgery and wheeled into a surgical suite. Then woke up in recovery, glad that the cramps were gone. He tried to move a leg but found he couldn't lift it yet, and for a short while he drifted in and out of things. Finally he recognized Sarah. He said a quiet hello to her. "I have had a chance to think about things while you were in surgery. I don't know if what I did to you was right or wrong. If it was wrong, I am sorry. You can go back to wearing your shirts and pants as soon as you are recovered. Thank you. I am sorry I made your life so miserable. I never noticed it and it just developed. I wish you'd told me it was bothering you. I didn't mind the dresses, it was that darn corset that I hated. Well, you don't have to wear them anymore. I may have gotten carried away with how I treated you. I just felt I had to do something drastic. I know you love me and I love you, but your constant criticism of me was getting to be too much. I know now that it was. Earl told me he was going to talk to me but thought he should keep his nose out of it. I wish he had talked to me. I don't know if I would have listened, but I hope I would have. Well, between the doctor and Stella telling me things I didn't look at, I guess I shouldn't have made you wear dresses and do all the housework. Let me tell you something. I was afraid of retiring because I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I would be going fishing with Earl from time to time, but I didn't have any idea what I would do the other days. You solved that problem for me. I found I don't mind doing the housework. In fact, most of it seems like fun to me. As far as the dresses go, at first I hated them, then I didn't mind them. Then one day as I was putting on my makeup, I noticed how the color matched a color in the dress and I felt good about it. Then when I got better at putting on the makeup and with this new hairdo, I found myself enjoying making myself look pretty. I didn't care how others looked at me, only how I felt, and I felt pretty. That made me feel pretty good. You can wear whatever you want. If you feel like wearing a dress, you can. If you don't, you can wear your shirt and pants. I don't care. You have changed back to the loving man I married, and I hope you stay that way. I feel I'm lucky to have you for my wife. I love you and don't want to lose you. Don't feel bad about what you did. I know now why you did it, and I can see you had to do something, and you did what you thought was right at the time. Believe it or not, I may have made some mistakes in my life too, but marrying you wasn't one of them. She still had doubts over what she had done, but she knew he forgave her unconditionally. She knew he really loved her even with what she'd done, and felt a sense of warmth that she hadn't felt since their marriage years ago.